Welcome. You've just stepped into a quiet corner meant only for those willing to look a little closer. Tonight, we're diving into the unnerving world of school lockdowns. Situations that were supposed to be safe, but became anything but. These are 5 true, disturbing stories where the walls of the classroom became cages, doors refused to open, and ordinary teachers and students found themselves trapped in fear that felt all too real. You'll hear about shadows that shouldn't be there, voices that shouldn't be heard, and the creeping terror of being watched, even in a place you trusted. These aren't the usual horror stories you scroll past at night. These are confessions from the people who lived through them. After tonight, you might not walk through your school halls the same way, and sleep might be a little harder to come by. Most people watch these videos and forget to subscribe. Don't be most people. Now I want to know, what time is it where you are? And where are you watching from? Tell me in the comments below. I'm curious who's out there listening. Awake like you should be, let's begin. Finally, I reached down and picked it up. The paper was old, yellowed, brittle, like it had been left in a damp attic for years. I unfolded it slowly. There was only one line written inside: "She never left." The second I heard the lock click from the outside, I knew something wasn't right. We were in room 212, third period English, halfway through what was supposed to be a lockdown drill. I'd gone through a dozen of these before. Lights off, doors locked, phones silenced, everyone crouched under the windows pretending we weren't there. But this time, it felt different. Mr. Allen, our substitute, had closed the blinds too tight, pacing with this weird, stiff rhythm, heel, toe, like he was rehearsing something under his breath. He told us to sit in the far corner of the room, away from the windows. Then he stepped outside for a moment, said he had to check the hall. When he came back, he was breathing harder. His shirt was slightly untucked, and I swear his hands were trembling when he turned the deadbolt. And then I heard it. The metallic snap from the hallway side. He locked it from out there. At first, no one noticed. Everyone was whispering or texting under desks. But I was closest to the door. I saw how he twisted the lock, how he tugged it once, making sure it held before stepping back in. "Sir?" I remember saying. "Why'd you lock it like that?" He turned toward me so slowly it made my stomach drop. The hallway light behind him cut his face in half. One side soft and normal, the other completely shadowed. "Just making sure," he said quietly. "Sometimes people try to open doors during drills, but from the outside?" I asked. He didn't answer, just smiled. That's when my friend Caleb whispered, "Bro, he's creeping me out." I nodded, eyes still on the door handle. Mr. Allen walked to the front of the class, but he didn't sit behind the teacher's desk. He stood beside it, facing us, motionless, like he was waiting for something. The room felt too quiet. No sounds in the hall, no muffled announcements. Usually during lockdown drills, you could hear footsteps, maybe a voice from the intercom explaining it was practice. But this time, nothing. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to fade until all I could hear was the sound of my heartbeat in my ears. I glanced at my phone. 10:37 a.m. I texted my mom. "Lockdown drill RN, feels weird." No reply. Service was spotty in this part of the building. Then, this part still makes me shiver, Mr. Allen slowly reached up, unscrewed the classroom's clock from the wall, and placed it face down on the desk. "Why'd he do that?" whispered Jenny. I didn't know. He stood there looking at the clock's blank back as if he was trying to listen to it. And then softly he said, "Time always gives you away." That's when we realized the PA system wasn't on. Usually during drills, the office would confirm over the speaker that it was fake. But there was only silence. "Maybe it's real," someone whispered. "Maybe something's happening in the other building." That thought made everyone tense. Even Caleb, who joked through everything, stopped talking. Mr. Allen began walking between the rows of desks, his shoes barely making a sound on the tile. He stopped beside each of us, staring just long enough to make it uncomfortable, before moving on. When he got to me, he crouched a little so we were eye level. "You're doing well," he said softly. "You listen." "That's good," I forced a smile I didn't feel. He tilted his head, studying me like I'd said something funny without meaning to. Then he whispered, "You've got the same eyes as her." I didn't ask who her was. I didn't want to know. He straightened up and moved toward the windows. I heard him slide something heavy in front of them. Maybe the tall bookshelf. Then the sound of duct tape tearing. Long strips, stretching. We sat frozen, listening as he taped every seam where the blinds met the frame. The smell of the adhesive filled the room, sharp and chemical. It mixed with that dry, dusty classroom air. Old carpet, markers, chalk. It was like the whole room was being sealed shut. Jenny mouthed, "What is he doing?" I shook my head. Caleb pulled out his phone, typed something, and showed me the screen. Should I text the principal? Before I could answer, Mr. Allen turned. "Phones away." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried this pressure, the kind that made your body move before your brain decided to. He waited until everyone tucked their phones out of sight. Then with this weird, calm smile, he said, "Good. They can track signals, you know, even during drills." I don't remember how long we sat there after that. It felt like hours, though it was probably 15 minutes. Every small sound made me jump, the heater clicking, a pencil rolling off a desk, someone breathing too loud. Then, faintly through the taped blinds came a sound that didn't belong inside a school. Scraping. Something metal, dragging along the lockers outside. Mr. Allen turned his head toward the door and smiled, like he'd been expecting it. No one spoke. We just listened. The scraping moved closer, then stopped right outside room 212. A silence followed that felt like it pressed against my chest. Then, tap, tap, tap. 3 slow knocks on the door. Jenny whimpered. Caleb whispered, "Oh my God." Mr. Allen didn't move at first. Then he stepped forward and placed his hand flat on the door almost gently. He whispered, "You shouldn't be here." I thought he was talking to whoever was outside. But then he turned slightly toward us and repeated it. Louder, "You shouldn't be here, and is this part of the drill?" I asked, my voice breaking. He looked at me. And for a second, his eyes didn't look like his eyes anymore. They looked empty, like someone else was using his face. "Drills," he said quietly. "Don't prepare you for her." Everyone started whispering then, panicking quietly. Caleb stood up. "This is messed up, I'm leaving." He tried the door, but it didn't move. He yanked harder. Nothing. Mr. Allen just watched him, expression calm. "She doesn't like it when people open doors," he said. "Not until it's time." "What are you talking about?" Caleb snapped. "Who's she?" But Mr. Allen didn't answer. He looked back at the taped window and whispered, "You'll see." That's when the lights flickered. Once, twice. Then went out completely. Whole room plunged into darkness, except for a thin glow from someone's smartwatch in the back. People started whispering, crying, fumbling for their phones. Mr. Allen's voice cut through the dark. No lights, it was quiet again. I could hear breathing all around me, fast and uneven. Someone stifled a sob and then a sound. From the ceiling vent, a slow, dragging scrape above us. Something, or someone, was moving in the air ducts. Caleb whispered, "It's probably a rat, right?" But his voice cracked halfway through. The sound stopped right above us. We all froze. Then the vent cover, that thin metal grate, shifted. Just slightly. Enough to let out a tiny puff of dust that fell into my hair. Jenny gasped. And then clear as day, a whisper came from above. It sounded like a girl's voice. Don't trust him, I swear. It came from inside the vent. Someone screamed, and that broke everything. Kids started standing up, grabbing their bags, trying the door again. Mr. Allen didn't stop them this time. He just stood there, eyes on the ceiling, whispering something under his breath. Caleb shoved his shoulder against the door, yelling, "It's locked from the outside. He locked us in." The knob rattled, metal clanging. Then from the hallway end came another sound. Footsteps, slow, heavy. They stopped right outside the door again. This time, whoever it was started humming. It was a woman's voice, soft, tuneless, but unmistakably there. A lullaby. The kind mothers hum when they're half asleep, comforting a child. Only this one sounded wrong. Off-key. Too slow. Mr. Allen tilted his head, smiling. "She's early," he whispered. I wanted to scream. Jenny grabbed my arm so tight her nails dug into my skin. "What's happening?" she whispered. I didn't know what to say. All I could do was stare at the taped windows and hope someone, anyone, would notice we hadn't checked in for roll call. Then, the door handle turned, not a rattle. A slow, deliberate turn. Someone outside had a key. The lock clicked softly. Everyone froze, eyes wide in the dim light. Caleb stepped back from the door like it might explode, but it didn't open. Instead, something slid under it. A folded piece of paper. It scraped across the tile and stopped near my shoe. No one moved, and that's when the lights came back on. Everyone flinched at once, blinking in the sudden brightness. The door was still locked, the blinds still sealed, but Mr. Allen was gone. He'd been standing near the desk a second ago. Now there was nothing but his coat draped over the chair. The clock he'd placed face down was gone too. Caleb ran to the door, pounding on it. "Hey, someone! Open up!" No answer. Then the intercom finally crackled to life. A woman's voice, or our calm, professional Darty said, "Attention staff, the lockdown drill is now complete. Please resume your regular schedule." We all stared at each other, terrified, confused. How could it be over? The door opened a second later from the outside. Our real principal, Mrs. Green, stood there with a puzzled look. "What on earth are you doing in here?" "I've been calling this room for 10 minutes. We all started talking at once and about the substitute, the taped windows, the voice in the vent. Mrs. Green's face went pale. "There wasn't a substitute scheduled for today," she said quietly. "Mr. Baker was supposed to be here. He called in sick this morning." I said, "No, his name was Mr. Allen. He said he was covering for him." She frowned. "We don't have a Mr. Allen." That's how it started. But it wasn't the end. Because the next day when I came back to school, there was something waiting for me inside my locker. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in the house made me jump. Pipes groaning, wind against the window, the fridge clicking on. I kept replaying the day in my head, the taped blinds, the note. The way he said, "You've got the same eyes as her." I didn't even know what that meant, but it made my stomach twist every time I thought about it. By morning, I almost convinced myself it was some kind of elaborate prank. Maybe one of the seniors trying to film a viral haunted lockdown video. That idea made sense until I checked my locker again. The note was still there, but now there was a Polaroid stuck underneath it. It was a photo of our classroom, room 212, taken from the back corner, facing the teacher's desk. The blinds were open, daylight spilling in, only the picture wasn't recent. The furniture looked older. The posters on the walls were different. And sitting behind the desk was a woman I'd never seen before. Her face was blurry, but I could make out her hair. Long, dark tied back. At the bottom, in faded ink, someone had written, "Miss Holloway, 2003. That's when my hands started shaking, because I realized that was 22 years ago. At lunch, I told Caleb. He didn't believe me at first. Then I showed him the photo and the color drained from his face. "Where'd you get this?" he whispered. "It was in my locker this morning." "Bro, no way. You locked it, right?" "Of course I did." He stared at the Polaroid like it might burn him. "We need to tell someone." "The office, the cops? I don't know." But when we showed the picture to the principal, she just frowned and said, "We'll look into it." She didn't even take it. Her tone said, "Drop it." That afternoon, school felt off again. The air in the halls seemed heavier, like it was hard to breathe. Every time I passed a classroom window, I swore I saw movement inside, even when no one was there. When I got to English, I stopped in front of room 212. Someone had cleaned it. The tape was gone, the blinds fixed, everything neatly reset. But when I stepped in, I noticed something small. A faint mark on the wall near the door. 4 small lines scratched into the paint. Like someone had dragged their fingernails there over and over, and just above them written in tiny letters, "Let me out." I don't know why, but I couldn't stop thinking about that name. Miss Holloway. That night I searched it online. Miss Holloway, Lincoln High, 2003. There was barely anything. No Facebook. No alumni mentions. Just one old newspaper archive result. Local teacher missing after unexplained lockdown. Lincoln High, October 2003. The article was short. It said a teacher named Sarah Holloway, 28, had gone missing during a real lockdown after a reported security incident. Police had found her classroom sealed from the inside. No sign of forced entry. No sign of her. The only student still inside when police arrived said she'd seen a man in the hallway. They never found him. Reading that made my skin crawl. Room 212, a sealed classroom, a missing teacher, and now 20 years later, a substitute who wasn't on any record. It couldn't be coincidence. That night, I barely slept. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo, the same classroom, same angle as the Polaroid, only now the desk was empty, and in the reflection of the window behind it was me. Like the photo had been taken from where I was sitting earlier that day. My phone buzzed again. Another message. She never left. The next morning, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even talk to Caleb. I felt like I was losing my mind. When I got to school, I noticed the janitor standing outside room 212. Mr. Lewis, quiet guy, been there forever. He was scraping something off the door with a putty knife. What happened? I asked. He hesitated, looking around before answering. Someone drew on the door last night. Don't worry about it. What did it say? He stared at me for a long second, then muttered, the same thing it said 20 years ago. Before I could ask more, he walked away. That evening, Caleb called. He said, "You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I saw him." "Who?" "The sub, Mr. Allen. I swear he was standing across the parking lot after school. Just watching. Didn't move. Didn't blink. Then when I looked away, gone. My stomach turned cold." "He's not real, Caleb. I think he was..." "Don't say ghost, dude." I wasn't going to. "But something's wrong. Maybe the school's hiding something." He went quiet for a second, then said, "Come to the library tomorrow before first period." I found something. The next morning, the halls were quiet. Too quiet. I found Caleb in the far corner of the library, hunched over a laptop and a stack of old yearbooks. "Look," he said, pointing. It was the 2002-2003 yearbook. Faculty page. Miss Sarah Holloway, English. I flipped to the next page. Substitutes and student teachers. One face stopped me cold. It was him. The same face. The same eyes. Mr. Allen. Except his name wasn't Allen. It was Daniel Holloway. Sarah Holloway's husband. I stared at the photo until my vision blurred. Caleb whispered, "He was a sub here right before she disappeared." Maybe he did it. I couldn't breathe. "Then who was in our classroom?" We both froze at the same time because from behind the stacks a book fell. Just one. Heavy, loud. We turned. No one there. Then another fell, closer. And another. A slow, steady rhythm. One after another until a row of books slid off the shelf entirely, landing open on the floor. All turned to pages with photos of her. Miss Holloway. Her eyes scratched out in every single one. Caleb swore under his breath, stepping back. "We need to go." But I couldn't move, because behind those fallen books, something was standing, not clearly visible, just a shape. A woman's outline half hidden in shadow. Her head tilted slightly, hair hanging in her face. Then, in the silence, the faintest whisper. "You shouldn't have come back." The lights flickered once, and when they came back on, she was gone. We left without signing out, without explaining. The librarian called after us, but her voice sounded distant, like underwater. Outside, Caleb said, "Okay, I'm done. I'm not coming back tomorrow." Caleb, "No, man. Something's wrong with that room, with this whole place. We should tell someone." "Who?" I asked. "The same people who ignored the missing teacher? Who let some random guy lock us in a classroom?" He didn't answer. Just walked away. That night I couldn't stop hearing her whisper in my head. "You shouldn't have come back. You shouldn't have come back." At 3:04 a.m. my phone buzzed again. Another unknown text. It was a photo. This time not of the classroom. It was of my house, taken from the street through my living room window. The curtains were slightly open, and I could see myself sitting on the couch, holding my phone. My blood ran cold. Before I could react, another message came through. "She's waiting." I didn't sleep. I just sat there, lights on, staring at the window until sunrise. When I finally got to school, Caleb wasn't there. His seat was empty all day. By third period, everyone started whispering. They said he never came home last night. The police were checking his route. They thought maybe he ran away. But I knew better because when I opened my locker, there was another folded note waiting. This one just said, "He opened the door." I don't remember much of that day after that. I just remember walking to room 212 again, even though I didn't want to. The hallway was empty. The door was open this time. Inside, the room looked normal again. Desks lined up, windows uncovered, clock ticking. But on the teacher's desk was something new. A single Polaroid. It was of me and Caleb in the library yesterday, taken from behind the shelves, and in the blurry background, standing between the rows, was a woman with dark hair. Smiling, that's when I heard it again, humming. That same slow, broken lullaby. It came from the vent above the desk. I backed away slowly. The air coming out of it was cold, too cold. Then faintly under the hum came another sound, scratching like nails dragging across metal. And then a whisper, soft and trembling. "You've got her eyes." I ran. But that night when I got home, I realized running didn't help because waiting on my bed was another Polaroid. This time it was me, sitting in class that morning staring up at the vent, and in the reflection of the window behind me was Caleb standing there smiling. I didn't go to school the next day. I told my mom I was sick, which wasn't a lie. My body felt drained like I hadn't slept in weeks. My eyes burned every time I blinked. Every noise made me jump. But mostly, I couldn't stop thinking about that last Polaroid. The reflection of Caleb behind me smiling, like he was standing there the whole time and I just didn't see him. Only, Caleb was missing. The police called his mom that morning. He never made it home. No phone, no wallet, no car found. Just gone. And yet, there he was, watching me, from inside a picture I never took. Around noon, I decided I couldn't hide anymore. I needed to know what was happening. So I went back. Lincoln High looked normal in daylight. Kids laughing, bells ringing, the usual chaos of a Friday. But when I stepped inside, the hall to room 212 was dark. The lights were flickering. I told myself it was just bad wiring. But deep down I knew that part of the building never felt right after what happened. The air was colder there, like walking into a refrigerator. And every step echoed too loud, like the floor was hollow underneath. When I reached the classroom, the door was locked again. But someone had slipped another note under it. I picked it up. "If you want answers, come in." There was a key taped to the back. For a long time, I just stood there holding it, every instinct screaming not to go inside. Then I thought of Caleb, of his empty chair, of that photo, and I turned the key. The lock clicked softly. The smell hit first. Stale dust, cold air, and something faintly metallic, like rust. The room was dim, only a thin stripe of light sneaking through one crooked blind. Everything looked untouched. Desks neat, board clean. But there was something new on the teacher's desk. A small square recorder, and next to it, another Polaroid. Of me, holding the key. My hands shook as I pressed play. A man's voice filled the room. Deep, tired. "If you're hearing this, it means she's awake again." There was a long pause. A shaky breath. I tried to stop it. I really did. But she doesn't forgive. She doesn't rest. The voice grew softer. 20 years ago, they said it was an intruder. They said she locked the door to protect the students, but I know the truth. She was never alone in that room. A faint click. Static. Then, she never left. I froze, because that voice wasn't Daniel Holloway. It was Mr. Lewis, the janitor. I replayed it twice just to be sure. His voice was unmistakable. Slow, gravelly, always half-whispered. He knew. He'd been here that night in 2003. I stepped back toward the door, but it wouldn't open. The key was gone. It wasn't in the lock anymore, just gone. Then the blinds snapped shut by themselves. The room fell into darkness. Something moved in the corner, a soft rustle, like fabric dragging against tile. I froze. "Hello?" No answer. I pulled out my phone, turned on the flashlight. The beam shook in my hand. At first, I didn't see anything, just the rows of empty desks. Then, behind the teacher's desk, a shadow shifted. It wasn't cast. It was standing. A woman stepped into the light, Her skin pale gray like old paper, her eyes black and bottomless. Her hair hung wet around her face, dripping onto her clothes even though she wasn't wet. And I recognized her instantly. Miss Holloway. I backed up, hitting a desk behind me. She didn't move at first, just stared. Then she whispered, voice soft as air, "You let him in?" I don't know what you mean." Her head tilted, eyes flicking to the door. "You opened it. Again. I just wanted to know the truth." Her lips trembled into something like a smile. "There is no truth. There's only what's left." She stepped closer, her shoes not making a sound. The air grew colder with each step. My breath came out in white clouds. And then, she stopped right in front of me, inches away. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you know what it's like to be forgotten?" I shook my head. Her hand, ice cold, shaking, touched my face. 20 years. They sealed me in, said it was an accident, but he locked the door from the outside. She looked over my shoulder. "He said he'd come back for me." I turned, but the room was empty. When I looked back, she was crying, silent tears running down her gray cheeks. "He did come back," she whispered. "He just didn't come alone." Then her face twisted, eyes going wide, and she screamed. The lights exploded overhead. Glass rained down. My phone went black. When I could see again, she was gone. But the door, the same one I'd unlocked, was now wide open. In the hallway stood Mr. Lewis. He was pale, shaking, holding another recorder. "Don't move," he said. "Whatever you saw, it's not her anymore." "What are you talking about?" I shouted. "She's not the only one in that room." Before I could answer, a loud crash came from behind me. The teacher's desk had tipped over, slamming into the floor. Something crawled out from underneath it. A hand. Pale, thin, trembling. Then another. It wasn't her. It was him. Mr. Allen, or Daniel Holloway, whatever he was, pulling himself up, his neck bent at a wrong angle, his eyes black and glossy. He smiled, teeth too white. "She missed me." Mr. Lewis grabbed my arm. "Run!" We sprinted down the hall. The lights flickered as we went, one by one going dark behind us. I could hear him following, bare footsteps slapping the tile, the sound of that awful humming again. That same lullaby. We turned a corner, but when I looked back, the hallway behind us had changed. The lockers were old, the floor scuffed, the posters yellowed, like we'd stepped backward in time. Mr. Lewis stopped, gasping. "He's pulling it back." "What?" "The night she disappeared. He's replaying it. We reached the exit doors. He slammed against them. Locked. He dropped his flashlight, hands shaking. I tried to warn them, tried to tell the board to seal that room forever, but they needed the space." He looked at me, eyes wet. She was trying to protect the students, from him. Before I could speak, glass shattered down the hall. Daniel was coming, crawling this time, body twisting unnaturally, dragging itself like a spider. "Go!" Mr. Lewis yelled, turning to face him, but I couldn't move. I just watched as the two locked eyes. Daniel grinned. "You should have left it sealed." Then the lights went out again. When I woke up, it was morning. I was lying in the hallway outside room 212. The door was open. Inside, empty. No desks, no blinds, no tape, and no sign of Mr. Lewis. The only thing left on the floor was a Polaroid. I picked it up. It showed the same hallway I was standing in, but with two figures in it. One was me. The other, standing right behind me, hand on my shoulder, was her Miss Holloway. They closed off that wing of the school after that day. "Electrical fire," they said. "Unsafe wiring. No one's allowed past the caution tape now. But sometimes when I walk home late, I still see the lights flicker through the boarded windows, and every few nights I find another Polaroid slipped under my door. Always the same message written on the back. You opened it. Last night's was different, though. It had a new line underneath. Now she's with you. I haven't gone back to school since, but I can still hear that humming sometimes, soft, off-key, coming from somewhere inside the house. It gets louder at night, and last night, when I turned off the lights and caught my reflection in the mirror, there was someone standing behind me. A woman, long dark hair, smiling. She leaned close, her breath cold on my neck, and whispered the same words Mr. Allen said that first day. "You've got her eyes." The first time I heard the whisper, I thought the intercom was glitching again. Our school had this old PA system from the early 2000s. It always crackled before morning announcements, sometimes picking up random static from police radios or something. But that day, it wasn't static. It was a voice, a soft, trembling whisper that said, "Can anyone hear me?" I froze. It wasn't a clear broadcast, more like someone breathing into the mic, close and scared. The sound cut in and out between bursts of static. I glanced around the classroom waiting for someone else to react, but everyone was too busy packing up after first period. Then, just before it went silent, the voice said something else. It said my name. I didn't tell anyone right away. Who would believe me? The intercom was ancient. Half the time the speakers didn't even work in certain classrooms. But when it said my name, I felt something deep in my chest. That cold, slow dread that starts small and spreads like frost. At lunch, I tried to bring it up casually to my best friend Jenna. "Hey, did you hear anything weird on the announcements today?" She looked up from her fries. "Weird how? Like whispering?" She frowned. "No. I mean the usual feedback, but nothing creepy." "Why?" I hesitated, then laughed it off. "Probably nothing. I think I'm just losing it." But when we were walking out of the cafeteria, we passed one of the wall-mounted intercom speakers, the one right by the library doors. And I swear I heard it again. Just a single word this time. "Stay." I stopped dead in the hallway. "Did you hear that?" I asked Jenna. "Hear what?" The intercom buzzed softly, then went quiet. The lockdown happened 2 days later. It was fourth period, history class. Mr. Carson was showing us some old documentary. Lights dimmed, half the class half asleep. The alarm blared suddenly. That shrill electronic siren that drills straight into your skull. Then the automated voice echoed through the halls. Lockdown, this is not a drill. Teachers, secure your classrooms immediately." My heart sank. Everyone started panicking at once. Scraping chairs, someone whisper yelling for their phone, Mr. Carson locking the door and turning off the lights. The siren stopped and the intercom came on again, but instead of our principal we heard static. Then that same whispering voice. "Don't move. He's in the hallway." Mr. Carson froze. "What was that?" he muttered under his breath. We all looked at him wide-eyed, waiting for direction. He motioned for us to get down behind the cabinets near the window. We crouched low, the kind of silence that buzzes in your ears when you're terrified. The voice came back. "Room 214, lock your door." That was us. Room 214, no one spoke. Not even Mr. Carson. He just stared up at the speaker on the wall like he was trying to figure out if it was some kind of sick prank. Then, faintly, we heard footsteps in the hall. Slow. Dragging. Someone stopped right outside our door. There was a pause, long enough that I started shaking just from holding my breath. Then the door handle rattled once hard. Someone was trying to open it. A few people gasped. Mr. Carson whispered, "Quiet." But the rattling got louder, angrier, like whoever was outside was losing patience. I could see shadows moving under the door, pacing. Then finally, silence. For about 30 seconds, nothing. Then the intercom came alive again, and this time, it was our principal's voice. But it didn't sound right. "Attention staff and students. The threat has been contained. Please remain in lockdown until further notice." The way he said contained made my skin crawl, like he didn't know what word to use. Like he was guessing. Someone whispered, "That didn't sound like him." And I agreed. Because our principal, Mr. Lewis, had a deep, calm voice, the kind you hear in church. But that voice, it was shaky, strained, like someone trying to imitate him. We stayed locked down for what felt like hours. Every so often we'd hear faint noises from the hallway. Doors creaking, Distant footsteps, the kind of sounds you can't tell are real or your imagination. At one point, I thought I heard crying coming through the intercom again, soft and distant like a girl sobbing somewhere far away. Then it turned into laughter. Just one short, breathy laugh, cut off mid-sound. Jenna, sitting next to me, mouthed, "Did you hear that?" I nodded. We waited. Then, around what I think was the third announcement, the voice came back again. But not the whisperer this time. It was the fake principal again, all clear. Please proceed to the gym for attendance. No one moved. Even Mr. Carson looked unsure. But the lockdown light near the door switched from red to green, the signal that it was supposedly safe. He took a shaky breath. Okay, everyone stay together. We stood up slowly, our legs numb. The hallway outside was dim. Half the ceiling lights were flickering. I remember the smell, like burnt plastic maybe from the alarm system. We walked toward the gym in a tight group. I kept looking at the intercom speaker near the lockers. It was humming, not static this time. A low hum like someone breathing through it. Then just as we turned the corner, I heard my name again. Clear as day. Whispered right into my ear through that damn speaker. Don't go to the gym. I stopped walking. Everyone else kept going. Hey, Jenna whispered, tugging at my sleeve. Come on, but I couldn't move. The voice was still there and whispering something else now, too low to catch. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. Jenna, I said quietly. Did you hear that? She frowned, shaking her head. What, the static? I didn't answer. The hallway lights flickered again, and for a split second I saw something through the glass window of the classroom door across from us. A figure, standing completely still. Not a student. Not a teacher, just tall, wearing something that looked like a janitor's uniform. I blinked, and it was gone. When we finally reached the gym, it was half lit, packed with students from other classes. Teachers were trying to calm everyone down, but something felt wrong. It was too quiet. Too controlled. I scanned the crowd looking for Mr. Lewis, but he wasn't there. Neither were the cops or any administrators. Just a bunch of dazed kids and nervous teachers. That's when the intercom came on one last time. Students, please return to your classrooms. And every teacher froze. Wait, someone said. That doesn't make any sense. The lights flickered again, then went out completely, for a few seconds. We were in total darkness, and in that darkness, I swear I heard the same voice whispering again, right behind me this time. I told you not to come here. When the lights came back on, everyone in the gym was panicking. Some kids were crying, others trying to push toward the exits. The teachers were yelling for everyone to calm down, but the fear in their voices made it worse. The first thing I did was look toward the back of the gym, where the doors to the main hallway were. They were wide open. A single janitor's mop bucket sat just inside the doorway. And it was dripping. The sound was soft, rhythmic. Drip, drip, drip. But what made my stomach twist was that the bucket wasn't filled with water. The liquid inside was dark. Someone near me whispered, "Is that?" And before they could finish, the intercom popped again. Everyone, please return to your classrooms immediately. Do not panic, that voice. It wasn't the principal. It was the same shaky imitation. And this time I could hear something faint beneath it, like breathing. Mr. Carson tried to take control. All right, everyone, let's stay calm. We'll move back in groups, but another voice cut him off. A teacher near the bleachers shouted, Mr. Carson, they just told us to stay here. He turned confused. What? They said remain in the gym until police arrive? It just came through our speaker. The gym fell silent. 2 different messages from the same intercom, seconds apart. Jenna grabbed my hand. I could feel her shaking. What's happening? I didn't answer. My eyes were fixed on the PA speaker above the scoreboard. It was hissing softly like someone was whispering, but the words were too low to make out. And then, between bursts of static, I heard it again. My name, faint, drawn out like someone was pressing their lips right against the mic. Please, listen to me. I felt lightheaded. It said my name again, I whispered. Jenna's eyes widened. You're serious? I nodded, and then quietly from somewhere deep inside the speakers we heard it again. This time it wasn't whispering to me, it was laughing. The next 10 minutes were chaos. Half the teachers tried to lead their classes back to the rooms. The others said to stay put. Some kids called their parents. The signal was weak, but a few messages got through. Parents who said there were no police cars outside the school. No official lockdown alert from the district. We were alone. Someone must have decided to check anyway, because one of the assistant coaches, Mr. Harvey, went to the doors. He peeked into the hallway, flashlight on. He took 2 steps out, then froze. His flashlight beam was jerking all over the place. Up the walls, across the floor, back toward the gym doors, like he was looking for something that moved too fast to see. Then, suddenly the light dropped, rolled back into the gym, but Mr. Harvey didn't. People screamed. The teachers tried to lock the doors, but the metal latch on one side was broken. We ended up stacking benches against it. That's when we heard footsteps again, slow, echoing down the hall. I swear to God, whoever it was, they were dragging something. It made this scraping noise against the tile, like metal on concrete. The steps stopped right outside the gym. Then there was a faint knock. 3 slow knocks. Everyone held their breath. Then through the intercom came the whisper again. "Room 214. That's my classroom, the one we just come from." I didn't think. I just acted. I grabbed Jenna's wrist and pulled her toward the side exit near the equipment room. "Where are you going?" she hissed. It said my room. "I need to see him. Are you insane?" Maybe I was. But something in me needed to know, needed to understand what this thing wanted. The equipment room door was unlocked. We slipped through and found ourselves in the narrow back hallway that connected to the main one. The air back there was freezing, and the lights flickered like a dying heartbeat. We crept forward slowly, the sound of chaos behind us fading, and then the intercom crackled again, only this time it was just above us. "He's coming." Jenna grabbed my arm so hard her nails dug in. "What did it say?" I didn't answer, because down the hall near the bend where the classroom started, I saw someone standing under the flickering lights. At first I thought it was another teacher. But then the figure turned its head, too slow, too stiff, and I realized the uniform wasn't one I'd ever seen before. It wasn't the janitors or any staff I recognized. The face was pale, half hidden in shadow, and then it spoke, except it didn't. "Move its mouth," the voice came, through the speaker right above us. "You shouldn't have come here. We ran. I don't even remember grabbing the door handle, just bursting into room 214 and slamming it shut. I locked it and backed away, chest heaving. The classroom looked exactly as we'd left it. Chairs overturned, projector still flickering the paused image of that old documentary. Then I noticed the intercom speaker in the corner. It was on, not just humming, glowing. A faint red light pulsed behind the grill, like a heartbeat. "Why is it doing that?" Jenna whispered. I stepped closer. My hands were trembling. The static grew louder the closer I got. I swear for a moment, I thought I could hear someone breathing on the other end. Then suddenly, a voice burst through, so loud I jumped back. "Help me." It was a man's voice, desperate, cracking. Then silence. Then another voice layered under it, almost echoing. "Don't listen." We both screamed when the door handle rattled again. This time whoever was out there didn't stop after a few seconds. They kept twisting it, shaking the whole door. Jenna whispered, "It's locked, right?" "It's locked?" "Yes," I said, but my voice broke halfway through. The intercom crackled again. "He's outside your door." I pressed my back against the far wall. The sound of metal scraping the floor came from the hallway again. Closer this time. The rattling stopped. I held my breath. Then, slowly, a single piece of paper slid under the door. It was a hall pass. Old, crumpled. The kind we used in middle school before we switched to digital IDs. It had my name written on it, and underneath it, in shaky pencil, "You never left." That's where everything broke. The lights went out completely. The projector shut off. The only glow left was the pulsing red light behind the intercom speaker. Then the voice returned, louder than ever, distorted, overlapping itself. "You're still here. You never left. You never left. You never left." Jenna covered her ears, screaming. I grabbed her arm, dragging her toward the window, but when I tried to open it, it wouldn't budge. The handle was ice cold, like it had been frozen shut. We turned back toward the door and froze. The shadow under the door was back, but this time, there were 2. I remember the sound more than anything. That slow, deliberate breathing on the other side of the door. Like whoever or whatever was standing there knew we couldn't go anywhere. 2 sets of feet, 2 shadows unmoving. Jenna gripped my hand so tight I thought my fingers would break. "We're gonna die here," she whispered. I wanted to tell her no. I wanted to sound brave, but I couldn't even form words. The intercom clicked again, the speaker light pulsing red against the dark classroom. "He's not real." The voice was whispering faster now, shaky and scared, like whoever was speaking through the intercom was desperate to warn us. Then, overlapping that whisper, another voice came through, deeper, calm. "Stay inside, students. Everything is under control." It was the principal's voice, but I knew it wasn't him, because a week before, our principal, Mr. Lewis, had died in a car accident. Everyone in school had attended his memorial in the auditorium. His photo was still framed at the front office, flowers, candles, the whole thing. So how the hell was he talking through the intercom? The door handle turned again, slow this time, and through the gap beneath the door something slid in at the edge of a shoe, black polished, like a principal's dress shoe. Jenna started shaking her head, whispering, "No, no, no," over and over. Then the intercom screamed, not a voice, and just this ear-splitting feedback like a mic held too close to an amp. It hurt so bad I dropped to the floor, hands over my ears. When it stopped, the room was completely silent. I dared to look up. The intercom light had turned green. For a second, I thought maybe it was over. Maybe this was some twisted prank or technical glitch. I even laughed a little, a hollow, broken sound. That's when the voice came again, calm, polite. "You may now return to the gym." And at that exact moment, the door to the classroom clicked open. No one pushed it. It just swung an inch inward, slow, creaking. Jenna's whisper cracked. "It's unlocked." I didn't want to go near it. But the hallway outside was dead quiet. No footsteps, no screaming, nothing. The silence was worse than the noise. "We have to move," I said. "We can't stay here." So we stepped out. The hallway lights were dimmed to the sickly yellow glow. Every door was shut tight. I realized something weird as we crept forward. The air smelled different, like dust and cleaning chemicals, but stronger, and there were no sounds. Not from other classrooms, not even from outside. It felt like the whole building was asleep. We walked past the janitor's closet. The door was cracked open. Inside, the mop bucket from earlier sat in the dark, water sloshing faintly with every step we took, except it wasn't water. The closer I looked, the clearer it became, in that reddish tint, the smell of iron. Blood. That's when I noticed the name tag on the floor beside it. Lewis, our principal's. Jenna started crying. "We have to go, please," we ran. Past classrooms, past lockers, until we hit the main hall that led toward the office. The light above the office door was flickering. The intercom speakers buzzed as we passed them, every single one turning on one by one as if tracking us. "You shouldn't be here," one whispered. "Go back." Another. I covered my ears, trying to drown it out, but the voices overlapped until it was just noise. When we reached the front office, the door was wide open. Inside, every computer monitor was on, but the screens showed nothing but black, except for one in the corner that displayed a frozen image of the school hallway. The live feed from the security cameras, except in that footage, the timestamp said 2017, 8 years ago. And on the screen, clear as day, was me, sitting in the same classroom, wearing the same clothes. My stomach dropped. I stepped closer, shaking. What is this?" The footage continued. It showed the lockdown alarm going off, the same panic, the same sequence of events. Except this time I saw something I hadn't seen before. A tall figure in a dark uniform walking the halls. He entered room 214, and he never came out. Then the feed glitched, flickering to another camera. This one showed the intercom control room. A man sat in front of a panel of switches and microphones, face buried in his hands. The name tag on his shirt was blurry, but I could just make out one word: Lewis. He looked up at the camera, eyes wide and wet. Then he whispered, "I can't stop it." The screen went black. Jenna was trembling beside me. This can't be happening. She stopped, because the intercom speaker above the office desk came to life again. "Please return to your classrooms. The threat has been contained." But it wasn't a recording this time. It was live, and it was his voice. We turned toward the speaker, and in the reflection of the glass office door I saw movement behind us. A man. Tall, pale, wearing the same suit and tie our principal used to wear. His face was distorted, not inhuman but off, like a wax figure half melted under heat. He raised one hand slowly. I don't know why, but I froze. My body just refused to move. He opened his mouth, and the intercom echoed his words at the same time. You never left that day. Everything started flashing, lights strobing, alarms wailing, the sound of the intercom looping the same phrase. You never left. You never left. You never left, Jenna screamed and ran toward the side exit. I followed. But when she pushed the door open, it didn't lead outside. It opened into another hallway, the same one. Room 214 at the end. We turned around, Joe and the principal was gone. Just silence. The intercom clicked one last time. Please return to your classroom. Then all the lights went out. When I woke up, I was in the nurse's office. A police officer was standing over me saying something I barely heard. They said it was all over. A false alarm, a malfunction, a system glitch that caused the intercom chaos. But when I asked about the principal's voice, the cop looked at me strangely. Principal Lewis, he said. He's been dead for years. They said they found no one else in the hallways. No signs of intruders. No one matching the man we described. Jenna doesn't talk about it anymore. She transferred schools the next week, but me, I still hear it. Sometimes when I walk past the old building, the outdoor intercom crackles faintly, like it's remembering my name. And last night, when I passed it after dark, I heard that voice again. Room 214. Then a pause, then, almost gently, you still haven't left. The first time the gym doors locked on their own, nobody took it seriously. It was a Friday night, the kind of night when the whole town crammed into the bleachers to watch the high school team play. The air smelled like popcorn, sweat, and victory. But halfway through the second quarter, right after the home team scored, the heavy metal doors at both ends of the gym slammed shut. Hard. At first, everyone laughed. A couple of guys even joked about ghosts. But when people started trying to leave for the bathrooms or snack bar, the laughter stopped. The doors wouldn't budge, not even a centimeter. Coach Simmons was the first to notice that something was really wrong. He stormed over, shouting at a few students to stop messing around. But when he grabbed the handle and pulled with both hands, his face went red with effort. It didn't move. He tried the other one. Nothing. The cheerleaders stopped mid-routine, their pom-poms drooping in uneasy silence. The game announcer's voice crackled over the PA system, half joking. All right, folks, looks like we're staying put for a while. But you could hear the tension starting to build. Whispers, murmurs, the squeak of sneakers against the polished floor as people began crowding near the exits. And then, the lights flickered. It wasn't just a random power surge. The lights dimmed slowly, one section at a time, went from the far bleachers toward the scoreboard, until only the court itself was lit. A perfect circle of white light surrounded by black. Someone near the back shouted, "Hey!" Who turned off the breaker? No answer. Then the PA system screeched, a burst of static, sharp enough to make everyone cover their ears. When the noise cleared, the voice that followed wasn't the announcer's. It was slow, calm. Please remain seated. The doors will open when the game is over. A few people laughed nervously, thinking it was some kind of prank, until they realized the voice didn't belong to anyone from the school. It didn't even sound human. A mother in the crowd grabbed her son and started shouting for someone to open the emergency exits. A few parents rushed to help her, slamming against the doors, trying to pry them open. One guy, a janitor named Henry, ran toward the side utility room to check the breaker box. He had the keys. He never came back. After about 5 minutes, his flashlight beam could still be seen faintly under the utility door. Then one by one, the lights on that side of the gym went out completely. When a student went to check on him, the room was empty, just his key ring, lying on the floor beside a puddle of water. That's when the panic started. People began pounding on the doors, screaming to be let out. Kids were crying. Someone was on their phone trying to call 911, but there was no signal. No Wi-Fi, nothing. Every phone in the gym had the same issue. No bars, no connection. Coach Simmons got on the PA mic, trying to calm everyone down. Listen up. We're gonna figure this out, all right? Stay where you are, don't push! But before he could finish, the microphone cut out. replaced by that same strange voice again. Stay inside. The doors will open when the game is over. Only this time, it added something new. Don't look at the scoreboard. Everyone turned toward the scoreboard, and that's when it started counting down. The clock, which had been frozen at 7:42, suddenly blinked red and began ticking backward. 41, 7:40, 7:39. But the game on the court had stopped. There were no players. The court was empty. The players who had been there just seconds ago and were gone. Their uniforms, their shoes, even the ball. Gone. The stands erupted into chaos. People shouted their names, parents crying out for their kids. But there was nothing. No trace. Then the PA clicked on again. Game in progress. One of the students, a senior named Alex, shouted, "This is some kind of joke. It's a prank." He stormed down onto the court, waving his hands. "Come on, who's doing this?" The moment his feet touched the painted center circle, the buzzer blared, long and deafening. The lights above the court flashed white, and for a split second everyone saw movement, shapes, shadows, like figures running, but not people. They were too tall, their movements too smooth, almost like they were floating instead of running. Then darkness again. When the lights came back up, Alex was gone. Only his phone lay in the middle of the court, screen cracked, camera still recording. I was there that night, sitting halfway up the bleachers with my friend Riley. I remember gripping her arm so tight my nails left marks. I couldn't move. Couldn't even think straight. Everyone around us was either screaming, praying, or frozen in disbelief. The scoreboard kept ticking backward. 5, 6:54, 6:53. And every time the number dropped below another minute mark, something else disappeared. The announcer's booth lights went out. The cheerleaders' banner vanished. A whole section of the bleachers, empty space where people had been seconds ago, no sound. No trace, just gone. The voice came back, softer this time. "Please remain seated. Do not interfere with the game." By now, people were breaking down, pounding on doors, trying to smash the glass windows. But the glass didn't even crack, it just rippled, like water. Riley whispered, "We're not in the gym anymore." I didn't understand what she meant until I looked up at the ceiling. It wasn't the gym ceiling anymore. The banners, the lights, everything had been replaced with a pitch-black void. No rafters, no beams, just endless darkness with faint, moving shapes drifting through it, and from up there came the sound of cheering, thousands of voices, echoing from somewhere unseen. They weren't human cheers. The scoreboard hit 6, and a faint red light began to glow beneath the floorboards, seeping through the cracks between the wooden panels like blood. Coach Simmons tried to rally the crowd again. "Everyone stay calm," he shouted, but his voice cracked in fear. He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes went wide. He was looking past the bleachers toward the far exit. And slowly, every head turned to follow his gaze. Someone was standing there, a tall figure in a referee's uniform, face hidden beneath a black mask. He raised one hand and blew a whistle. The sound pierced through everything, and the lights cut out. When they came back on, Coach Simmons was gone too. The referee was standing in the center of the court now, holding something and a clipboard smeared with what looked like blood. The scoreboard ticked again, 45. And for the first time, the voice over the PA spoke directly to us. "New players have entered the game." The crowd went silent. Then the buzzer sounded again, and this time, it wasn't the shadows that moved onto the court. It was us. Riley grabbed my arm and screamed. I looked down and saw it. My feet were moving on their own, carrying me toward the court as if pulled by invisible strings. The same was happening to dozens of others around us. No one could stop. The whistle blew again and everything went black. When we woke up, it wasn't the gym anymore. The bleachers, the scoreboard, the court, they were gone. Instead, the room stretched into endless darkness. The faint outline of the doors we had been trapped behind was still there, but twisted, warped, impossible to reach. Riley gasped beside me. Where are we?" I had no answer. I tried to stand, but my legs felt heavy, like wading through water. The floor beneath us pulsed slightly, as if it were breathing. A distant sound echoed through the darkness and the faint squeak of sneakers on polished wood. Footsteps, moving in time with some rhythm, circling us, then a voice. Not over the PA this time. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Welcome back. The game continues. I swallowed hard. What, game? The shadows started moving. Long, twisted figures emerging from the blackness. Their forms were human enough to recognize, but stretched and distorted, moving on joints that shouldn't bend, limbs that flickered in and out of existence. I could see their faces. Some were smiling, others blank, hollow-eyed like they'd been playing this game for years. Riley clutched my arm. I don't want to play. The voice laughed softly. You don't get to choose. Then one of the figures stepped closer. Its face was familiar. It was Alex, the senior who disappeared when he stepped onto the court. But it wasn't him. Not really. His eyes were black, hollow, and his mouth stretched in a permanent scream. He raised his hand toward us. People around me were screaming now, but the sound didn't carry far, like it was swallowed by the darkness. I tried to move, to run, but my feet didn't respond, and then, something worse. The darkness itself seemed to twist around me. Shadows reached out like tendrils, brushing my arms, my legs, my face. Cold, wet, hungry. The voice spoke again, closer this time. Time to play. Follow the rules. I could feel it in my chest, in my throat. Panic rising, clawing, thick and suffocating. Then a rule appeared, glowing red in the air. Rule 1, survive until the buzzer. The buzzer sounded immediately. A deep vibrating hum that made my teeth ache. I don't know how long we moved, minutes? Hours? It felt like days. The figures circled us, their faces flickering like bad television. Some were whispering, others screaming silently. Every time we tried to hide, the shadows found us. Every time we moved forward, the floor beneath us shifted, forcing us in directions we didn't want to go. And the scoreboard? It floated somewhere ahead of us in the darkness, glowing ominously. Every second it ticked down seemed to echo through the void. 30, 429, 428. The PA voice chimed in again. Cheating is not allowed. The rules are clear, I realized. If we tried to fight, the shadows would grab us. If we froze, we'd be stuck here forever. There was no real choice. Riley screamed again when one of the shadow figures lunged at her. I reached out, trying to pull her back, but my hand passed through her body. I staggered backward, heart pounding. I realized, and we weren't in the physical world anymore. We were inside the gym, but not the gym we knew. A copy. A twisted mirrored version, layered over reality like a reflection in broken glass. And the game wasn't over. The scoreboard blinked again. 259, 258. The shadows intensified. Hundreds of them now, swirling around us, whispering rules, mocking us, dragging invisible chains that made every step harder. Then I heard it. A familiar voice. The one that had been over the intercom all night. Only one way to survive. Reach the doors before the buzzer ends. Fail, and the game keeps you. I knew without thinking that the doors were the same ones that had trapped us in the first place. If we didn't reach them before the buzzer hit 0, we wouldn't just fail the game. We'd disappear. Just like Alex. Just like the janitor. I grabbed Riley's hand. We have to run, I whispered. She nodded, tears streaking her face. We ran. The shadows lashed out, pulling at us, twisting our bodies, whispering threats into our ears. I could hear dozens of voices screaming our names, some begging for help, some laughing. Everything was disorienting. Walls shifted. Lights flickered. The scoreboard floated ahead, the numbers ticking down faster than real time. 159, 158. We reached the first set of doors. The handles were just within reach. I yanked at them, locked. The second set, locked too. The shadows closed in. I could feel the cold brushing my neck, my hair standing on end. The intercom voice whispered again, soft but deadly. You almost made it. Almost. Panic surged through me. I turned toward the scoreboard. The countdown was almost finished. 15, 014, 030. Riley grabbed a metal chair and smashed it against the nearest door. The handle jiggled. The lock clicked. I threw my shoulder into the door. It swung open just a crack. The cold air from outside hit us like a gust of winter wind. We didn't look back. The hallway beyond the gym looked normal. Too normal. The bleachers, the court, even the scoreboard hadn't gone. Just a quiet, empty school hallway late at night. Riley and I ran through it, our shoes squeaking against the polished floor. the fluorescent lights humming above us. When we reached the front doors, they opened easily, like they had never been locked. Outside, the night was calm. No parents, no police, no flashing lights. Just the quiet town, the street lamps, and the distant sound of a dog barking. We collapsed onto the sidewalk, gasping, shaking. The next day, the school announced the gym doors had malfunctioned, a simple electrical failure. No one mentioned the shadows. No one mentioned Alex, the janitor, or the countdown, but Riley and I never spoke of it. Some things, we decided, were better left unsaid, except for the scoreboard. Because late at night, when the gym lights are off and the town is quiet, I can still hear it ticking, 15, 014, 03, waiting for the next game. I knew something was wrong the moment the intercom crackled that morning. First period, sophomore biology, and Mr. Hayward wasn't there yet. That alone wasn't unusual, and he was late sometimes, but the office sent a strange message over the PA. All students remain in your classrooms. Mr. Hayward is unavailable. Stay put until further notice. The words were clipped, awkward, like the secretary didn't want to say what was really happening. I glanced around the classroom. Some kids were texting, some shrugged it off, but the air felt heavy, thick, like you couldn't breathe properly. By the time the bell rang, Mr. Hayward still hadn't shown. I raised my hand to call the office. "Hello?" I whispered into the phone. Nothing. I tried again. Nothing. The line was dead. Then the intercom buzzed again, this time inside our classroom. A soft, trembling voice came through. "Please stay seated. Don't leave. It's safer this way." Everyone froze. The classroom went silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. No one moved. I should have laughed, called it a prank. But I couldn't. The voice, it sounded terrified. By mid-morning, the weirdness escalated. The janitor, usually making rounds with a vacuum or mop, never came by. The hallway outside was unnaturally quiet. Normally, you'd hear the squeak of sneakers, the chatter of students passing classes, but not that day. Every time someone tried to peek outside the classroom door, it felt like the hallway stretched longer, darker, and emptier than it should have. And the more we waited, the more I noticed it. Shadows. Small flickering movements near the windows, behind the lockers, along the walls. Not people, not quite. Around 11 a.m., the office finally called in over the intercom. Classrooms are secure. Teachers are accounted for. Continue your lessons as usual. Except Mr. Hayward never arrived. I raised my hand again, my throat dry. "Can I go check the office?" A voice, low and hurried, came through the classroom intercom. "No, sit down. Don't leave." The word sent a shiver down my spine. I glanced at my classmates. Some were uneasy. Some pretended not to hear it. But no one moved. By lunchtime, things had gotten worse. I was alone at my desk trying to text a friend when I heard a faint knock on the door. Not the kind of knock a student would make. Slow, deliberate, almost like claws scraping against wood. "Hello?" I whispered, standing up. No response. I edged closer. The doorknob rattled lightly at first. Then harder. Someone was on the other side. "Mr. Hayward?" I called. No answer. Then the whisper came through the intercom again. "Don't open it. Please don't." I froze. My stomach twisted. I didn't know what to do. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get out of the classroom. But the voice, the terrified, pleading voice, held me in place. The door rattled again, louder this time. "I'm trapped too," the voice said, soft and broken. It wasn't coming through the intercom this time. It was under the door. A low, wet scraping sound, nails on the wood, or something else. I could feel my heart thundering. Then the classroom lights flickered. The next hour passed like a nightmare. No one entered the room. No announcements, no intercom messages, nothing. And yet I could feel it. The presence outside the door. Watching. Waiting. I tried to focus on my notes, on the biology assignment in front of me. But the longer I stayed, the louder the breathing became. Not my own. Someone else's. Slow, shallow, uneven. And then I noticed the shadows on the wall. They weren't mine. Not quite. They moved slightly ahead of the light, like they were alive. Finally, the bell rang. I ran to the door. It was empty. No one outside. Hallways silent. But the door, Mr. Hayward's classroom door was cracked open. Inside, his desk was gone. His chair overturned, but on the floor, his glasses, bent, scratched as if he had tried to pick them up and couldn't. A piece of paper lay beside them. In his handwriting, "I can't leave. Don't come in." By the time third period rolled around, the classroom had become a trap. We couldn't hear any voices from the hall, no other teachers calling over the intercom, nothing. Just the low hum of the fluorescent lights and the occasional scrape from under the door. I tried to call the office again. Nothing. Then the intercom flickered to life. Not the usual crackle, but clear, deliberate. "Do not open the door. I can't stop it." It was Mr. Hayward's voice, but distorted, twisted, like it was coming from far away and right next to me at the same time. I couldn't breathe. The first attempt to leave the classroom came from Kevin, a kid in the back row. He got up, pushed the door, and immediately froze. His eyes went wide. He pointed toward the crack at the bottom of the door. A shadow, long, black with fingers that seemed to stretch impossibly, reached out under the door, slowly, deliberately. Kevin screamed. I grabbed him and yanked him back into his seat. The shadow recoiled, but not entirely. It lingered, twitching, before retreating into the hallway. The intercom buzzed again. It's waiting. It always waits. By fourth period, no one dared speak above a whisper. We were counting the minutes, trying to make sense of what was happening. The intercom stayed silent for long stretches, but every time it spoke, it was something worse than the last time. It sees you. Stop looking at it. He isn't your teacher anymore. The last message hit me like a punch. Mr. Hayward wasn't our teacher. He was something else. I don't know how long it took for everyone to panic completely. The room was suffocating with fear, but the real terror began when the doorknob started turning. Slowly, one full rotation, then stopped. We all backed away from the door, trembling. I could hear it breathing now, low, wet, like someone who had been trapped for days. The intercom crackled again. "He's gone. You can't save him, don't follow." I couldn't help myself. I peeked through the small window in the door. The hallway was empty. For a moment I thought maybe it was over. Maybe the lockdown was just some nightmare. Then I saw it. A figure moving impossibly fast. Not human, not really. Its head tilted in the wrong direction, eyes black pits, limbs jerking at angles that shouldn't exist. And it was carrying Mr. Hayward. His body didn't struggle. His face was pale, slack-jawed. His glasses were gone. The figure turned toward the classroom, and I could feel its gaze through the window, through the wall, even through the intercom. "You're next." The panic was instant. We tried to barricade the door with chairs and tables. We screamed, yelled for help, pounded on the walls. Nothing worked. The shadow outside waited, calm, patient. It started whispering Mr. Hayward's voice, fragments of sentences, pleading, warning us, "Don't open. Please, not yet." But the whisper came out as static-filled, broken syllables. By fifth period, the situation became surreal. The intercom wasn't just a voice anymore, it was everywhere. I could hear it in the ceiling vents, the fluorescent lights, even under the floorboards. "Stop moving. He's watching. Don't look at it." The lights flickered violently. Shadows danced across the walls. Even our own silhouettes were twisted, longer, jagged, wrong. Some students started screaming uncontrollably. Some tried to hide under desks. Some sat frozen, staring at the walls like they'd gone insane. I kept my eyes on the window and the door, and the figure was still there, waiting, watching. Then came the final warning. "One door, one chance. Don't open it until he stops moving." The words didn't make sense, but I realized what it meant when the figure shifted. Mr. Hayward's body started changing, skin pale, hair falling, eyes wide and empty, limbs twitching unnaturally. It wasn't him anymore. It was the figure, and it wanted us. We didn't wait any longer. Riley and I grabbed a few others and pushed the door open. The hallway was still eerily quiet, too quiet. We moved in a line, clutching each other toward the office. The lights flickered, shadows stretching from lockers and corners like fingers, brushing against us as we passed. Every step felt like walking underwater. We reached the office cars and it was empty. No secretary, no principal, no one, except the intercom. It buzzed one final time. "He will find you if you stay here." Then the office doors slammed shut behind us. We ran for the front doors. They opened, this time, releasing us into the bright, normal sunlight of the school courtyard. People milled about, completely unaware of what had happened inside. Teachers and students laughed, called names, carried on like nothing had occurred. Riley and I didn't speak. We just ran. Weeks later, Mr. Hayward never returned. They said he retired early. No one asked questions, but sometimes when I walk past that classroom I hear the whisper, soft, trembling. "Don't open it, please. Don't." And I know the figure is still waiting for the next teacher, the next class, the next student who thinks they're safe. I knew something was off the second I walked into the music room. It was after school and I was helping Mr. Daniels, the band teacher, pack up instruments for the weekend. The room smelled like old wood and brass polish, warm and comforting. But when I pushed open the back door that led to the practice hall, it slammed shut behind me, hard. Not the usual creak, not the wind catching it onto slam. Full force I jumped. "Mr. Daniels?" I called. No answer. The lights flickered, dimming, then brightening again. I walked toward the door to try it again. It wouldn't budge, not a centimeter. I pulled, shoved, twisted the handle, locked. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the ventilation system, until the first scream came, high-pitched, blood-curdling. It wasn't a student. It wasn't Mr. Daniels. It came from inside the walls. I backed away slowly, heart pounding. Then I heard it again, closer this time. Not a scream, but words. "Get out. Don't touch the door, please." I froze. The voice was trembling, almost like someone was trapped behind the wall, screaming through layers of wood and metal. My stomach churned. I glanced at the instruments on the stands, the trumpets, the tubas, the violins, all of them quivering, slightly, as if something inside the room was vibrating against the air itself. Then the intercom clicked to life. Not Mr. Daniels' voice, not even the office. She shouldn't have come. I recognized the voice. It was thin, desperate, but not familiar. "The door. It takes them, please. Don't." My hands shook so badly I couldn't grab my phone to call anyone. The screaming started again, louder, more frantic. I realized it wasn't coming from the walls anymore, it was coming from the door itself. The wood groaned. The handle rattled violently. It sounded like someone, or something, was trapped inside, clawing its way out. I tried the door again. Locked. The lights flickered once more, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room, and then I heard footsteps, soft, slow, coming from the hallway outside the locked door. I couldn't see anything. My ears strained, the door shivered. A low moan slipped through the crack beneath it. "Help me." I backed away from the door, my back hitting the wall. Then I felt it. A cold breeze brushing the back of my neck, not from outside, from inside the room. I turned slowly. The clarinet on the stand in front of me started moving, slightly, then faster, spinning like someone invisible had picked it up. The brass instruments joined in, a chorus of scraping, rattling, vibrating as if the room itself had come alive. The intercom buzzed again. "The door chooses, and it has chosen." I screamed and ducked behind a tuba stand. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt like it had no meaning. The lights flickered back on briefly. The door was no longer just a door. It had a face, a dark, twisted distortion, a gaping maw that screamed silently, edges moving like they were alive. The handle quivered as if it had teeth. I couldn't breathe. And then, the voice, unmistakable, low and rasping, and whispered, "She sees you." And now, she waits. I stumbled backward. My shoulder hit the wall. The clarinet crashed to the floor. The door shivered, groaned, then stopped. Silence. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then a fingernail tapped against the wood from inside. Slow, deliberate, then another and another, like someone was counting. I turned, ready to run toward the hallway, but my legs refused, and then I heard it. The unmistakable sound of screaming. My own name, Emily. The intercom buzzed violently. She's not real. She's waiting. Don't open it. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. When the janitor finally found me hiding behind the stands, the door was just a normal door again, no sound, no distortion, no screaming, just locked like always. He said nothing when I told him, but I know. I know what's behind that door, and I know it's still waiting, because sometimes, late at night, I hear the screaming again. Emily, come back, don't leave. I couldn't stay away from that door. Not really. Every time I tried to forget it, the screaming came back. Soft at first, almost a whisper, then louder, echoing in my dreams. It called my name. Emily. Emily. A week later, I found myself standing outside the music room again. The hallway was empty, quiet, normal. The sunlight streamed through the windows. Everything looked ordinary, except the door. It pulsed slightly, like it was breathing. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the handle. The intercom crackled. You shouldn't have come back. I swallowed hard. My heart was pounding, but something inside me wouldn't let me leave. I opened the door. It didn't creak. It didn't slam. It was silent. The room smelled faintly of brass polish, old wood, and something else. Iron. I stepped inside, shaking. The instruments lay scattered on the floor, as if the room had been abandoned in a hurry, and then I heard it again. A scream, muffled, coming from the back of the room. Emily. Help. I followed it, heart in my throat, toward the corner where the old storage closet stood. The door to the closet rattled violently. I could see it now, not a face, not a figure, but darkness. Thick, swirling, and moving. Alive. It's waiting, the intercom hissed. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But my feet wouldn't move. The darkness in the closet began to shift. A shape emerged, pale, twisted, human-like. Long fingers, eyes black as coal, mouth stretched in a silent scream. And it wasn't alone. From the shadows, dozens of faces emerged. Students, teachers, people who had disappeared over the years. All with the same hollow eyes, the same twisted mouths, the same desperate pleas. Help us. The intercom buzzed violently, almost in panic. The door chooses. You can't save them all. Leave now. I tried to turn, to escape, but the door slammed shut behind me. Hard. The room went dark. The instruments rose from the floor, spinning, rattling, vibrating in the air around me. The black shapes moved closer, circling, whispering, screaming my name. Emily. Join us. The sound was deafening, yet quiet, like it was inside my skull. Then I heard a familiar voice, not distorted, not twisted. Emily, listen. The door, it feeds on fear. It wants you to open it fully. It wants you to stay trapped. It was Mr. Daniel's voice. But wrong. Hollow. Echoing. I realized that he wasn't alive. Not in the way we understand. He had become part of it. The door groaned. A low rumbling sound like a living thing. It pulsed faster, and the shadows pressed closer. I had seconds to act. I grabbed a tuba stand and smashed it against the door. The pulsing slowed. The shadows hesitated. Do not let it choose. The intercom hissed. I slammed the door one more time with all my strength. And then I ran. The room behind me went silent. The instruments fell to the floor. The shadows receded. I didn't stop until I was outside in the bright afternoon light. My lungs burned, my hands shook. My hair was plastered to my face with sweat. The next day, the music room was normal. The janitor shrugged when I asked if anything had happened. Just a stuck door. Happens sometimes. No one mentioned the screaming, no one mentioned the shadows. But I know what's behind that door, and I know it waits. because every night in my dreams, I hear it. Emily, come back. Don't leave. And I know, one day, it will call again. It had been months since that day, but I couldn't forget the music room. I tried. I really did. School went on, classes changed, teachers retired, friends moved on, but at night the screaming came back. Soft at first, almost like a whisper, then loud as if it was right behind me. Emily, I didn't sleep well. My dreams were haunted by that black, twisting mass of shadows and faces, the distorted figures of students and teachers all begging for help, all trapped. One evening, curiosity, or maybe obsession, got the better of me. I returned to the school under the cover of darkness. The hallways were silent, echoing my footsteps. Every locker, every tile seemed normal. But the music room, it pulsed, like it was breathing. I froze at the doorway. The handle quivered slightly, inviting me in, and the intercom buzzed, cutting through the silence. You shouldn't be here. The voice wasn't angry. It wasn't distorted. It was almost fleeting. I stepped inside. The room was empty, instruments neatly in place, chairs stacked. The smell of brass polish and wood filled the air. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Then the door slammed shut behind me. I spun around, locked. A faint sound reached me, scraping, whimpering, growing into a chorus of screams. It came from the closet. I approached cautiously, every nerve on fire. The closet door shook violently, groaning, and then the screaming started in earnest. Loud, ragged, desperate, I saw the blackness swirl. Faces appeared in the shadows. The students who had vanished before Mr. Daniels, even the janitor who had mysteriously disappeared months ago. Their eyes hollow, mouths stretched in eternal screams. Emily, help! The voices echoed in my head. I stumbled backward, heart racing. The intercom crackled again. It feeds on fear. If you give in, you stay forever. I realized that the door wasn't just a door. It was alive. It chose who would be trapped. It had trapped Mr. Daniels, the janitor, probably dozens of others, and now it was choosing me. I grabbed a nearby music stand and slammed it against the door. The pulsing slowed. The shadows recoiled. Do not let it choose, the intercom warned. I could feel their gaze. Thousands of eyes staring at me through the darkness, waiting for me to falter. With one final surge of courage, I yanked on the door. It swung open. The blackness inside recoiled violently, shrieking like metal tearing. I ran, not daring to look back. The hallway was quiet, empty, normal. I didn't stop until I was outside in the cold night air, gasping for breath. Weeks later, the music room was just a room again. Teachers and students came and went as usual. The janitor acted like nothing had happened. Mr. Daniels never returned, but I know. The door waits. The shadows wait, and the screaming never truly ends. Sometimes in the dead of night, when the house is silent, I hear it faintly. A soft, pleading call. Emily, come back, don't leave. And I know one day it will call again.